Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What's shaking? And hey, guess what? The frog's here. The frog's here. He's right there. He's right there. He's right there, man. That dude's got talent. He's got talent on loan from God. Sunday, Jenna, a wild bill appeared. Let's see here. People saying hi to each other. We love it. Cheerful chat room. Hey, today I'm going to tell you about the top 10 TV shows that have ever been viewed by a pair of eyes. Well, it might be pirates and stuff, but it's the most viewed TV shows, single episodes in United States history. I'll probably tell you a little bit more than that, but it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. Let's get through a few more of these chats. Sven Dunkel's there with a flag of some nature. Could it be Italy? Could it be? It looks like France and a shamrock. I don't know. Let's see. Team Frog, the Tadpole Battalion, all in this room. Gully Heads. Hi, all in chat. That's Diana O'Brien from Shrewsbury, Shropshire. Yes. Oh, behind me is a typical wholesome family watching television back in the day. Blow up all frogs. Sven, that ain't cool, man. I believe I'm overmodulating just a touch. I shouldn't have screwed with my settings the other day. Chef is in the house. Ronald J. Bateman, who has been to the condo for Bushmills. He says, Gully Buffs, and it's Irish, you fish. I don't know who you're yelling at, man. It's not that kind of frog, dude. It's not that. It's the frog, not a frog. It's, whatever. Oh, man, have we got a problem over here today? Okay, anyway. Hey, good to see everybody. Glad you're here. Hope you're having a great hump day. We at Tom Gully Show, as always, hope you are receiving the full, total, and complete amount of hump that you so desperately crave and you so rightfully deserve. Sven says, sorry. Don't worry about it, dude. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Nothing to get all bent about. Nothing to get all bent about. I'm going to just talk for a couple minutes, give everybody a chance to get here at 6 o'clock. At 8 p.m. Eastern Time, yes, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, on the Shuley Network, you fine people will have the opportunity to watch just a truly splendid program called Replayables. And I highly encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. It's awesome. They gather these weird, wild video clips and they do amazing things, but a lot of what they do is drink a lot. And if you're lucky, and you don't really have to be that lucky, you will get the rare opportunity to see somebody hurl on live streaming video. That's what I like about it. Sven Dunkel says, great shirt, Tom. Just get flippy about the Irish. Well, don't do that. This shirt, by the way, is part of Soccer Week. This is my Houston Dynamo actual team jersey that the team awarded me when I worked on their advertising account the first 2 years that they were in Houston. Those first 2 years, they won the Major League Soccer championship, and then another general manager came in, and Andrew Luck's father, by the way, he came in, picked another ad agency, and they haven't won a championship since. Coincidence? I don't think so. I'm going to have a lot to say about some of these shows. Good evening, says Lyndon. Sven says you look like a Dutch soccer player. With this haircut, I look like Dennis Bergkamp, don't I, Sven? My favorite non-goalkeeper week. Terry Nee says Soccer Week. And it's not weak. It's the most popular sport in the history of mankind on earth. Casables says, no coincidence, Tom. Chris, I hope you were here when I was shilling for your show just seconds ago. Mere seconds ago. I was shamelessly shilling for the Replayables. Let me see here. Most boom, bada bang, bada bing, bada boom. Here we go. All right. Now, a few things for me to tell you about when talking about the most viewed single episodes of television in United States history. The first thing that I need to tell you, the very first thing, and this is important, this does not include Super Bowls. If you put Super Bowls on the list, let me just look at this list. Out of the top 20, all but one of them are Super Bowls. So we're going to take the Super Bowl out of it because it'd be pretty boring for us to rank the Super Bowls. Because, you know. So these are the top 10 single most viewed episodes. And you guys can put your guesses in the chat and I'll go over them just as soon as I have finished. In the number 10 position, top viewed single episodes of American television. Number 10, an episode entitled The Finale. It is, of course, Seinfeld. Number 10, Seinfeld, The Finale, had 76.3 million viewers, and it aired on May 14th, 1999. So there you go. And this was an hour-long episode. So many of you may have watched it. A lot of people didn't like the last episode. They didn't like the way that it was done. This is the actual restaurant in the show. It's Monk's Cafe, but this is the actual restaurant that they shot those exteriors on in the TV show. So if you remember that episode, all of them are going to end up spending a long time in prison with themselves. So, okay. Number 9 on the list. And this is a good time for me to just say something. With the advent of cable television, more people might have been watching. Two things to keep in mind. More people might have been watching television, but cable gave people so many more choices that the number of people watching a particular episode might have been less. When you only had 3 choices, you had bigger numbers. Now, that was during a time when the population of the United States was less than it is now. So there's those two forces that you're going to see in this top 10 list. So here we go. Number 9 on the list is... Anybody? All right, I'll just tell you. Roots, Part 8. The final episode of the television miniseries, Roots. It aired on January 30th, 1977, and it had an audience of 76.7 million people, which in 1977 was gigantic. And if you've never seen the TV miniseries Roots, I would assume it's on YouTube or you can easily see it on one of the streaming services. The first miniseries, they made 1 or 2 subsequent others that aren't bad, but that first one is really, really good. Really good. Now, this next one kind of pertains to the Shawnee Zone on Monday night, that thing about preppers. Because at the end of the show, they went through a list of movies, the best ones and the worst ones, that showed what life would be like at the end or the deconstruction of civilization. And I sat in that chat room and I kept saying the name of this one over and over and over again. The big prepper expert, right over his head. Okay? Just going to say, right over his head. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with that if this was not the number 7 most viewed episode of all time, and that is The Day After. And for those of you who do not know, and this is amazing, I think this may be viewable on YouTube. The Day After depicted a fictional war between NATO and the Warsaw Pact over Germany that escalates into full-scale nuclear exchange between the United States and the Soviet Union, and it focuses on the residents of Lawrence, Kansas. And it shows all the things that happened. It shows the EVPs that makes cars, for the most part, inoperable, radio communication, broadcasting inoperable, the cessation of commerce and food supply, the nuclear winter, all of it is in there. And it is a truly amazing, I think it was 2 nights, but this would have been the first night that this show aired. So the day after, okay, 77.4 million people watched it in November of 1983. And keep in mind, in 1983, the Soviet Union was still a going concern. The Berlin Wall had not fallen, and we still had a lot of, back and forth with the Ruskies. So anyway, the number 7, I'm not going to put a picture of up here because all the pictures I found, they were just terrible. But the number 7 most viewed single episode in the history of American television, well, it kind of involves something else that I will undoubtedly do a show about, and probably within the next month, and that is the battle between Nancy Kerrigan and another skater named Tanya Harding. After the attack on Nancy Kerrigan, those 2 ladies had to go to the 1994 Winter Olympics and participate in the ladies' single figure skating. So the number 7 program of all time, most viewed, is 1994 Winter Olympics, ladies single figure skating, February of 94. 78.8 million people wanted to watch the showdown between Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding. And, obviously huge numbers there. The number 6 single most viewed program in the history of American television would be an episode called One for the Road. And that would be the finale of the TV show Cheers. And I don't know about you, but for my money, Cheers still stands up to this day. 80.5 million people watched this. Now, it aired on May 20th, 1993. I had an indoor soccer match that night. And the teams and the facility that was putting these matches on, my game was the game that was going to take place while this finale ended. They had a TV above the snack stand in this facility, and it was agreed by both teams and the facility that at halftime, we would stop the match. All of us would watch that episode of MASH, and then we would play the second half. It was a gigantic thing. I could go through everything that happens. Very last thing that happens was Norm leaves. Sam looks around the bar. It's empty and says to himself, I'm the luckiest SOB on earth. Before he tells someone knocking on the door, sorry, we're closed. Walks over, he straightens a picture of Geronimo hanging on the back wall, and then exits into the corridor toward the billiard room and back door. And the final shot of the series was Cheers, seen at night. So Cheers is the number 6 most viewed single episode of any broadcast program in the United States. Now, the number 5 most viewed program. Well, back in, what year was it? I think this was it was definitely in 1980. It was October the 28th, 1980. 5 days later, a presidential election would take place. And this was the Carter-Reagan debate. Jimmy Carter debating Ronald Reagan. And 80.6 million people watched this. Now, it's interesting because all of the shows that I've told you about before aired on one single network. This one aired on multiple networks, as will two of the rest of the top 5. Now, this next one was a cultural phenomenon, the likes of which we may never have seen again. And that is the very last well, it wasn't the very last episode. It was the, it's TV show Dallas. And the episode was Whodunit. And the whodunit they wanted to get to the bottom of was what began a trend in nighttime television programming that didn't really exist. It'd been done a few times, but never to this scale. And that was Who Shot J.R.? J.R. Ewing, played by Larry Hagman, the head of the Ewing family in Dallas, was shot. And the way the episode ended, nobody knew who actually shot J.R. This episode, the beginning of the next season, was the one where we would all find out who indeed shot J.R. November the 21st, 1980, 83.6 million people saw this one. 83.6. Now, this next one is, I think, significant just because of the fact that it's the only one that's after the year 2000 that's on this whole list. The only one. And this would be the presidential debate between Donald J. Trump and Hillary Clinton. And that was in 2016. In fact, it was September 26, 2016. 84 million people saw this one. And, it's got a little something in common with the next one because it's also a news event. And the news event that has number 2 on the list is the Gulf War. The Gulf War. And it was the beginning of the Gulf War, January 16th, 1991. It, like the Clinton-Trump debate, was broadcast on multiple television networks. And Operation Desert Shield, that whole thing, yeah. That's when they got 85.6 million. Now, keep that number in mind. 85.6 million people watched it. Because I'm about to tell you the number 1 single most viewed episode of American television. And that is an episode called Goodbye, Farewell, Amen. And it's the final episode of the television series MASH. Now you remember, number 2 on the list is 85.6 million. Number 1, MASH, 106 million. Not even close. Between positions 10, 76.3, and 2, you don't even have, you just have slightly over a 10 million difference. Well, MASH is 20 million more than anything remotely close to it. And it also was a cultural phenomenon. Everybody knew where they were when MASH was on. So, there are your top 10 ever single episodes of American television. Now, let's think about this for a second, because, as I mentioned, cable has splintered the audience. That's why it's so difficult for anything but the Super Bowl to get up in these rankings. If you had, let's say, AMC, that's where Breaking Bad was, then you could watch the final episode, but a lot of people would stream it. Some people bought it on DVD. They didn't have to watch it the one time that it was likely to be on, even if you had a VCR that would record it, because that counts as a view too. So that's why it's so difficult for all of these programs that exist now to get up there. Sopranos on HBO. if you didn't have HBO, you just went to somebody's house who did have it. Might not have been as easy to stream back then, but that's what's going on there. Now, let me go a little further into this because I think you guys might be interested in some of this stuff. That's the most viewed shows. Most viewed is very different than the TV rating and the TV share, which might be a bit better in ranking what shows were the most quote unquote popular. What I just told you about is the most people, the most number of humans actually watching a show. But as I mentioned, the population in, let's say, 1954, 1962 was way less than it is now. A rating, a rating is how many households, not people, households were watching a particular show. And share, is the percentage of all the TVs that exist. So a rating is a percentage of the people watching television at that time. More people watch on Sunday night, let's say, than Monday morning at 3 a.m. So that's a rating. A share is of all the TVs that exist, even if you're not watching it. How many of the, what percentage of all the TVs that exist did you get? So a rating is always going to be higher than a share. The most highest rated broadcast of all time. I'm sorry, a share is always going to be, a rating is the percentage of all the TVs that exist in households. A share, it's backwards from what I told you. A share is a percentage of the people that were actually watching. So now I'm going to give you that same list from the top down. I'm going to leave MASH up there because they're the champions. They deserve it. And I'm going to tell you rating and share champions, The number one rated single episode of all time, same as the other, MASH. They had a rating of 60.2%. That means of all the TVs that existed, 60% of the households were watching MASH. Even that's a percentage, even of the TVs that were turned off. The share, in other words, the percent of all the people that were actually watching television, 77%. So more than 3 out of every 4 people that were watching TV on February 28th, 1983, they were watching MASH. Now, this is a little bit more fair of a scale because shows from this era are technically able to compete. Harder for them because cable, things are splintered, but it was easier for them in the previous thing, which was number of people, because there's more people now. So, number 2 on that list, Dallas, Who Done It? They had a rating of 53.3%, but their share was 76%. So 76% of people watching TV were watching Dallas on November 21st, 1980. Roots is number 3, And they had a rating of 51.1, so half the TVs that existed, but their share was 71%. So getting close to 3 out of every 4 people that had their TV on were watching Roots. That ladies singles figure skating is number 4. Their rating was 48.5. Their share was 64. Now, here's our first newcomer on this list. It was a thing that back in the 70s on NBC, they had a program called The Big Event. And they would kind of just throw movies and special programming into that. So it was always something big. There's a movie that at the time, and still to this day, a lot of people consider it the greatest achievement in film, that was never shown on television. It had never, ever been on TV of any kind. The only way you could see it was a movie or a drive-in. But on November 7th of 1976, the big event on NBC aired part 1 of Gone with the Wind. And it got a 47.7 rating and a 65 share. Just a couple days later, the next day, I think, it was the next day, Monday Night at the Movies on NBC, part 2 of Gone with the Wind, 64 share, 47 rating. Now, here's one that'll blow your mind. Where are we at here? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seventh place is the Bob Hope Vietnam Christmas Show. It aired January 15th, 1970. It got a rating of 46.6, and 64% of all the people watching television were watching the Bob Hope Vietnam Christmas Show, which was just a variety show with singers and dancers and athletes and comedians and you name it. I think that one actually was live from Vietnam. Seventh place on the list, I talked about it before, The Day After, which was on the ABC Sunday Night Movie, 46 rating, 62% of all people watching television were watching The Day After. The Fugitive was one of my favorite TV series. If you've only seen the movie, you gotta watch the series. It's an amazing television series. And for a long time, till MASH beat it, and some of these other shows beat it, The Fugitive was ranked number 1. Because The Fugitive was all about Richard Kimball, and he's trying to find the one-armed man that killed his wife, for which he was wrongly convicted of murder. And he's going from town to town to town to town, changing his name, getting involved in people's personal dramas, solving mysteries, saving the day, moving on to the next town, while Lieutenant Gerard followed him the whole way. Well, this went on for several years. I have the box set. It's like 300 episodes or something like that. It went from black and white to color. I mean, it was on for a long time, but on August 29th, 1967, the second part of the finale, called The Judgment, Part 2, got a 45% rating and a 72% share. August 29th, 1967, the day the running stopped. Last words on that series. I love it. Cheers Roots has 2 more in the top 10. Part 6 and Part 5. They got 45.9, 45.7 respectively as ratings. 66% share, 71% share. Cheers, One for the Road, 45.5% rating, rating, and 64% of all televisions that were turned on were watching Cheers, One for the Road. There's one last one I'm going to tell you about here, and that is with a 45.3% rating and a 60% share on February 9th, 1964. I'm tempted to make people guess, but I'm not gonna. It was the Beatles' first appearance on Ed Sullivan. And it, including Super Bowls, is the 29th highest rated, but I think it's something around 10th or 12th of the ones I've been telling you about. Now, I can tell you, and I can run through them pretty quickly, the highest rated series every single year since 1950. And it's very interesting. So in 1950, Texaco Star Theater, which starred Milton Berle, was the number 1 rated program. The next year, the reason I'm telling you about this probably at all is this next thing here. The next year, the number 1 rated show was something I've told you about just recently here. It was Arthur Godfrey's Talent Scouts. Number 1 rated show on television. The next 3 years little program called I Love Lucy was the number one show. And that streak was broken because this was during the age of the game shows and the game show scandals. The $64,000 question. The next year, I Love Lucy, back to number one. The next 4 years, all Gunsmoke. The year after that was Wagon Train, Beverly Hillbillies for 2 years, Bonanza for 3 years, Andy Griffith for 1 year. And then you're going to see kind of a shattering of these old sort of TV shows, because the next 2 years was Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, that spawned countless cultural phrases like "Sock it to me, baby," and "Here come the judge," and "You bet your bippy," and everything else. Marcus Welby, M.D., starring Robert Young, was number one in 1970. And then for the next 5 years, 5 solid years, All in the Family on CBS was the number one show in television. Happy Days, this is the number one show for a year. Then Laverne and Shirley for 2 years. And then 60 Minutes was the number one show. That Sunday night viewing time was often the place where you found, in the broadcast era, your number one shows. Dallas was number one for a year, then Dynasty, then The Cosby Show. Now, The Cosby Show is significant because The Cosby Show had one of the highest ratings for a series ever. The Cosby Show at number one was 33-34 in 2 consecutive years, which is gigantic because some of these other shows are 25, 25, 23, and the numbers start to drop after cable began. Roseanne was number one for a year. Cheers was number one for a year. 60 Minutes for 3 years. Seinfeld for a year. ER for 2 years. Seinfeld for a year. Then ER again. That was part of that must-see TV lineup on Thursday nights during the 90s that we all remember. Then Who Wants to Be a Millionaire got number one for a year. The year after that, Survivor. Year after that, Friends. Then CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, won for 3 solid years in a row. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in a row. I think that's the longest streak ever. American Idol was the number one television show in the United States. And at this point, one show starts to dominate. One other show was the only thing that could compete with it. And this is from 2010 to 2022. From 2010, let's say 2011, because American Idol won in 2010. But from 2011 to 2022, 11 solid years, only 3 shows are involved in the number one in the United States. And those shows are Sunday Night Football on NBC, number one. 2 years of NCIS, then 2 years of Sunday Night Football, then 1 year of NCIS, then 2 years of The Big Bang Theory, and for the last 4 after that, it's NBC Sunday Night Football. But if we go back to the 1990s, the last show to have a rating of over 20 was Seinfeld in 1997, 1998. Since then, no show has, except for Sunday Night Football, and they only did it once, and they were barely over 20. In the 90s, now keep in mind, these ratings had to be in the 30s or high 20s, mid to high 20s to be number one. Now, since 2010, 14, 12, 13, 12, 12, 12, 12, 11, 11, 10, 1 year of NBC Sunday Night Football, and then 16 and 18. So those numbers are going up. But that's what sort of the history of television is. I mean, I could go through I could go through all of these shows in all these years, and I may do that at some point in time. But that's your history of broadcast television. Typically speaking, you know, now that cable's around, it's changed everything. You have ratings for 3, 5, and 7 day views because of streaming. And there we go. I'm going to open up the phone lines here. And I'm going to go through your chats, and I'm going to remind you that, A, you can like, subscribe, and share. Please do that. It doesn't cost anything. We would love for you to do that. That would be Aces. You would be Jake. You'd be the Berries. I'm telling you. You'd be a great guy. And then we're not monetized here. So if you can go to paypal.me/Tom Gully Show, it would mean the world to us. We could really use it until we get monetized. It helps me buy food and helps me save money to go to New York and visit Vince the lawyer so I can tell him how tiny he is and make fun of his hat and other things. You got to be kidding me. Oh, no, I'm still on. All right. Thought I was off here for a second. I can get some better equipment. Okay, let me see here. Gully heads, all in chat. Let's see. The phone lines in a minute will be open. I'll let you know. Okay, no coincidence, Thomas. Oh, here we go. I appreciate you, brother. There he is himself, Mr. Chris Abels. He, of course, is one of the hosts, along with Bobby Frank, of Replayables. And in 28 minutes and 15 seconds, they will do a fabulous show for you, and you might just get to see somebody hurl. That's my favorite part of the program. People saying hi to each other. Jokerfish, very smart TV viewer, he said MASH and Seinfeld, those indeed were 2 of our top 10. What is this Super Bowl you speak of? A giant bowl of soup? I know how much you love soup. Okay, Reverend Wild Bill here has been watching this program for years, and I can tell you right now, and he's making fun of me because I hate soup. Soup is just food that you would normally eat and like in water. They don't make no sense. The Kahuna has arrived, says, hey gang, nice to see you, Kahuna. What's going on here, says Brett Hollywood's show. We're just wasting our time, basically. Jokerfish says, Kahuna, aloha. Reverend Wild Bill is saying hi to folks. People saying hi to folks. Please don't, if you're saying hi, I'm going to put it up on the chat, but I'm not going to read it. But people do say hi to each other here, and we love a cheerful chat room. We do love a cheerful chat room. Pineapple soda. I don't think there's anything better. Diana O'Brien, she's from Shrewsbury, Shropshire, England, of course. She says Roots was amazing. It really was. Star-studded and amazing. Terry Nee says Kunta Kinte. Yes, that was LeVar Burton. Played the part of Kunta Kinte, as did John Amos from Good Times. People saying hello to each other. It's alive. It's alive. Terry Nees, number 4, Biden's State of the Union address. No State of the Union address made it. Sven Dunkel with apparently the United Nations. The Day After freaked me out as a kid. If you haven't seen The Day After, you really need to. And I know I watched it for free recently. I watched it again. It's really well done. It's super well done. And you also have to keep in mind, my generation actually had nuclear bomb drills in school. Duck and cover. When you see the flash, kids, remember to duck and cover. And they'd take you down into the tornado. So we were still kind of scared of potential nuclear exchange. Randy Ramos is here. He is a chef. And he says, cheers. Oh, no, he's saying the TV show, cheers. V did not make it. Reverend Wild Bill says, Dallas, who shot JR, it was a national sensation. Incidentally, I believe it was Stephanie Zimbalist who shot JR. Terry Nees, dead on. MASH, yes. The good old throwdown in Detroit. Throwdown. The MASH farewell, yes. Famous. Terry Nee says, I met Nancy Kerrigan in Sun Valley, Idaho. Very nice. And her brother. I do not remember her brother. Terry, that's awesome. You should have brought her a club sandwich. I remember she got a lot of bad publicity because she won a bronze or silver in that Olympics, and she went to Disney World or whatever and was complaining about something, and they caught it on microphones. And anyway, MASH, yes. Chris, why? Maggie Simpson shot JR. Oh, man. Just in case she was hungry. People laughing. Chris Labels. Because you'd be in jail. Stormin Norman Schwarzkopf, of course, the special guest star of the Gulf War. Saddam was in Hole 9. Nailed it, Lyndon. Another letdown as Seinfeld. Another letdown. What was MASH number compared to a Super Bowl? Well, comparable. Let me get that for you. What in the name of Sam Hill? All right, hold on. Let me get that for you. Because it is a good question. It is a good question. One that deserves a good answer. But it was very comparable. Hold on here. MASH, okay, well, not that comparable. The number one viewed Super Bowl of all time was 123 million people, and that was the very last Super Bowl that we had. And it incidentally is 10 million more people than the previous. I'm going to attribute that to Swifties. MASH is number 11 on the list that includes Super Bowls, and of course, it's the highest non-Super Bowl, and it's 105 million. The second most viewed Super Bowl is 115 million, and that's from 2023. So it's kind of not fair because MASH was 1983. That was 40 years ago. I have to think the United States population is, not 100 million more, but 50 or 60 or 70 million more. So anyway. If you missed MASH, you had to wait for the rerun back in the day. That is correct. And if you've never seen MASH, I know all those are available for streaming. There's probably a channel that shows them 24/7. Tell us more. Did you get very far? Tell me more. Like, does he have a car? Doom-bop-bop. We wish cinema all and vote 1 out of 3 movies. The 80s were great. You're right. Man on the Moon. 1 call per person. By the way, the phone lines are open at 972-994-6822 if you'd like to call. I was a member of Nielsen's rating family. Well, Wild Bill, thank you for bringing that up. These ratings were not done. I mean, they obviously couldn't ask 70 million people what they watched last night. So they would put out these rating books that they called a diary. And a family like Bill's family, would be involved in that. And what they would do is they would hand these diaries out, and they paid people to fill them out, by the way. And you just kept a journal of what you watched. And those were handed out on a statistical basis that reflected the makeup from gender, age, income, race, everything else to accurately reflect the American public. So that's how they did the ratings. After a certain point, they got ratings boxes that were computerized that you didn't have to do a journal anymore. You just watched TV and the box sent the data back to them. Tom, I know it was not live, but any idea where the Miracle on Ice ranks? I have no idea at all. I wish I did. I may cover the Miracle on Ice one day, and if I do, I'll include that information. Terry Nee says, Bills, that's why Hee Haw was on. Terry Nee, it would still be on if I was a part of Neil's. Well, it still is, Bill, both in our hearts and in syndication. Hey, Grandpa, what's for supper? We got ham hocks and jellies and... Anyway. Frank Clevenger says, man, MASH did so much for cinema and TV. It really did, because MASH was a comedy that was a drama. And they were imaginative and innovative. And MASH was a really great show. Hi, Frank. MASH was it. Frank Clevenger said, I've watched MASH and the Waltons multiple times since I was a kid. The Waltons was a popular show. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Night, John Boy. Night, Mary Ellen. Klinger was the man. People saying hello. Also, hello, Tom. This is my first time seeing you, and this is really awesome. Well, Frank, welcome to the show. I hope you're related to the Clevengers of Muncie, Indiana. We've got a residence hall at beautiful Ball State University. It's called Clevenger Hall. Sven Dunkel says, moin, moin, my friend. I don't know what that means. Reverend Wild Bill says, I didn't get to see Bob Hope at that time. He didn't come to our base. Well, normally much darker topics here. You know, Bob Hope always had, he would always have some famous singers. He would tell some jokes with some famous actors. He might have Bing Crosby on. And then he had smoking hot babes. Bob Hope had a lot of smoking hot babes on his show that he would just sit and talk to, and they would do shtick. Uh-oh, looks like we got a phone call coming in. Sometimes our first call malfunctions. Sometimes, not always. Hi, and welcome to Tom Gully's show. You're on the air.
Hey, this is Brett from Sacramento.
Hey, Brett from Sacramento. Is that the same Brett that has the show?
No, I don't have a show.
Well, okay.
I got asked. I just started listening to you, and you know me from Trevor's show, and I'm like, I got to ask, where did you get like the information or the thought that I'm a super self-centered, selfish person? I'm
okay. I can answer that question for you real quickly.
Okay.
I'm doing a show right now about the top television shows of all time, and you thought it appropriate to call me and ask about yourself. That might be one fact that a lot of people would think, that you're amazingly self-centered. That would be a good starting place for most people that are logical. Tell you what, I'm going to go back to my show, and you can go back to being self-centered.
Oh, you asked for a call, so I was
Oh, no, I didn't ask for a call.
I heard you
I
asked
said
for a
the
call.
phone lines are open if you'd like to call. But that's okay, because it's all about you, isn't it, Brett? Bye-bye. Hold on, I'm waiting for it. There we go. God. Hi, folks. And now back to our show. Frank Clevenger says, Gunsmoke has to be on your list. Well, it was on the list of a number one show for a number of years. Lyndon said, I'll shut up after this, but The Fugitive and Rich Man, Poor Man were awesome shows. Lyndon, don't shut up. That's what we're here for. And we've only got another 16 minutes. Sven Dunkel says, in the hallway with the screwdriver. Sven, some of your comments are absolutely, I don't know, but I love them, and don't stop. Gunsmoke. Told you. Gunsmoke. What was let's see, it was on radio. Gunsmoke had the best opening on the radio. If you've never heard Gunsmoke on the radio, you must go to the Internet Archive and listen to Gunsmoke on the radio. First of all, William Conrad's voice is Matt Dillon. It's amazing. But when it opened, they'd say, around Dodge City and the territory out west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Hey, guys, the ice cream truck is coming around. It is 6:45. The temperature is dropping, and it's raining. Can you guys hear that? Because we got to go all winter without hearing this guy. Goldie Hawn, yes, from Laugh-In. You Bet Your Bippy. Sock It To Me. Diane O'Brien says, I Love Lucy was hilarious. And the Beverly Hillbillies. It's interesting because the Beverly Hillbillies and Petticoat Junction and the Andy Griffith Show and several others were part of what they called... let's see what we got going on here. Hi, and welcome to the Tom Gully Show. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom, it's Looney Tunes Critic.
It's who?
Looney Tunes Critic.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Pretty good. I wanted to. You're still doing the the television shows?
Yeah, but you can call for any reason. We like you.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, I'm doing some work for TSN right now that I can't talk about, but I was taking a break and I saw that you were on, and I wondered if you mentioned, I mean, it's not a show, but like a single viewing, like the highest rated, the highest viewed single viewing of an event, particularly on a talk show. Do you know what that was?
Well, I don't know what you mean by event, but I did just cover the top single episode viewings of all time. Now, if you're talking about something like Tiny Tim appearing on the Carson Show or something like that, I haven't done that.
That is what I was referring to. Yes, 45 million people.
Yeah, and that's a pretty high rating, really, for back then. It wouldn't make the list that I just read, probably, but that was a huge cultural phenomenon, and it would have been difficult for that to rank higher than some of the other shows just because it was on late at night.
Yeah, and it was one of the only things that I got to stay up late to watch because I was like 8 when it happened.
Yeah,
and I don't know why I knew who he was, but I knew I wanted to see it.
I think the reason I went directly to that is because it's the first thing that came to mind when I thought of a specific incidence on a show that wasn't the whole show.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It was only part of the Tonight Show.
Yeah, but people went goofy for it.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, like I said, I wanted to stay up and watch it. I mean, that shows you just how, hooked and everyone got into it, and and I don't remember much of it either. I looked it up on YouTube, and it's not ticking any like nostalgic boxes for me. But I remember watching it.
Yeah,
remembering the stamp.
Yeah, he was a phenomenon all its own. But anyway, hey man, thanks for calling in. You're a pretty square fella.
Yeah, I'm a square fella and a round peg.
Hey, it's good talking to you, man, as always.
All right, take care, Doc.
All right, bye-bye. That's the Looney Tunes critic. You can see him cracking people up in the chat room over there at TSN, the Shuley Network. By the way, you got about, I'm going to say 11 and a half minutes till the beginning of the Replayables on the Shuley Network, starring Chris Abels and Bobby Franks. And Chris has a wife called Homie Don't Play That, and she's wonderful as well. Sven Dunkel, and let's not forget the eyebrowless one, Shawnee. Sven Dunkel says, just strong silent type, loved Laugh-In. Laugh-In's great, and you can see Laugh-In all over the place on the internet and broadcast television. And Laugh-In was very, very left-leaning, but it was funny, and they got some super famous people on it, and the rate at which they are delivering jokes on Laugh-In is absolutely staggering. Absolutely staggering. Frank Clevenger says, Dallas. I recently watched his first run and just rounded out. I'm thinking of watching Dallas' second run. I think that happened in 2014. It did happen in 2014, and it was canceled much too soon. It was actually pretty good. I can tell you that my family, many members of my family, I've worked in television and advertising, done all sorts of things, but I've never been more popular with them than I was when I told them that a building that I worked in here in Dallas, and those of you familiar with the opening of Dallas, is it in this? No, it's not. That's the beginning shot. The end shot where they're in the city, there's some like copper colored buildings that have reflective, almost mirror-like windows all over them. When I told them that I worked in that building, finally, I became a success. Tommy McGropey says reality TV. Yes, reality TV started to really kind of take things over. Diane O'Brien says some good shows back then. Yeah. Sven Dunkel says just wanted as a child blurry memories. Brett B says, hey all, Tom didn't spell my name right, but then again, it's all about Brett all the time. How tone deaf do you have to be to call and ask that question when the answer to the question is the reason you're tone deaf? It's circular, vicious. Frank Clevenger says, wait, just curious, what about the longest running show of all time, The Simpsons? I'm pretty sure they did pretty good in the ratings. Brett B, welcome. Terry Nee says, we need the Joe the Producer show to put these to shame. That's right. Aku says, yes, still made it before the end. Good to see you, Aku. Toby McGromy says, welcome back. Frank Clevenger says, yeah, because of the streaming market is really oversaturated with TV shows. Well, now they have something called 3, 5, and 7 day ratings for television. So you've got the day that it came out, you've got 3 days later, then 5 days later, and then 7 days later, and they include the streamed viewed versions of those in that viewing and that rating. I should call in. Oh, God, Brett, what would we do without hearing from you? This is Brett. This is the world spinning around, Brett. Watch archives too. Yeah, they're good. You have food? Call in, Brett. Oh yeah, before we get out of here, please like, please share, please subscribe. Those things don't cost you nothing. They don't cost you nothing, and it makes you classy, you know? You can also go to the TomGullyShow.com. There are 270 podcasts there on a variety of subjects. You can also, if you wanna, I don't know that you wanna, but if you wanna, you can also go to the TomGullyShow.com and go to our merchandise store where you can get awesome things like the legendary Tom Gully Show mug. That's the 20-ounce version. That's a quarter down there at the bottom. It's basically a trash can with a handle on it, and that's Terry Nee's coffee cup. And you can also just go to cafepress.com/Tom Gully Show. It's all down in the crawl. And then the big thing, the important thing is we are not monetized. And we like a little something as a vote of confidence before we do get monetized, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen for another month or two. And that's at paypal.me/Tom Gully Show. There's also our Patreon where you get to see stuff I am way too scared to put out in the open in public. And Tim Jenkinson says, did you have a trial for Arsenal, Tom? Tim, no, but I did talk to Steve Bold one time on the air when I was working at a sports station, and he was the manager for FC Dallas. And I told him that I would sign with the team and that my transfer fee was a pack of gum. And he got a big laugh out of that. Reverend Wild Bill says, I had MASH streaming in the background during Tom's show. Season 2, episode 5. Awesome. People saying hi to each other, hi to each other. Well, a good old hurling is always fun. The playables make it fun. I got to hurry up here. I only got 7 minutes left. Hugh says, remember when the miniseries V was going to be the television event of the century? Hugh, that is so funny because back then they always used to say everything was going to be the television event of this century. It's also when a very special became part of the description of a television. And tonight, on a very special Punky Brewster. No soup for you. Sven with another of his strong silent type postings. Who makes a pineapple soda? Well, Yarritos makes a pineapple soda, but this one was made by my store brand, Tom Thumb. It's the Signature Select series. That's the store brand. It is damn good, but they don't make a 0 sugar one, so I can't have these very often. Lordy. That's good. Understandable, Tom. That's fair. Skipping hello. I think so. Roots was the first. I mean, I put them up. I just don't read them. Roots was the first time I saw Bajumblies in my junior high school history class. Terry Nee says, yep, basement at school, head between the knees. Yeah. When you hear the flash, kids, duck and cover. That's another good topic, actually. But let me write this. I got to write these down during the show. Let's see. Air raid. Because there's a lot of good public service commercials that I can play for those that are just hilarious. Fago makes a pineapple soda. Fago makes really horrible combinations of soda too. Fear-mongering for programming children. Well, fear is a powerful motivator. From nuclear bomb drills to school shooter drills, I would say America is regressing. Sam Hill, not to be confused with Tom Gully, says Reverend Wild Bill. That is one of my favorite things to say. What, Sam Hill? I'm streaming MASH now on Hulu. Also, if you've never seen MASH, then are you a real American? I think you can be. I just think it's harder Frank, give him a call. Well, I'm going to have to close the phone lines right now because I don't have time for a phone call. And I've got to get out of here before I will not go into the replayables time. I just won't. He will not call me. I don't know why. I don't have your number. $5 from Nielsen. Yeah, you got $5 or something. That's when $5 was $5, though. Let me tell you something, mister. He got my number. If I have your number, I'm not aware of it, Sven. Never calls. Man, all the same. What's the number again? It's in the crawl. It's right in front of you, literally going by your face dozens of times. MASH grew less funny and more preachy. Well, I think you could be right there, but they were still funny. Drink every time Tom says Ball State. You will be so plastered. We used to do that at Ball State when we'd watch Newhart. The game was Hi Bob. Every time somebody said Hi Bob, he took a drink. I'm not related. I wish I was. I have lots of money. I may not get to all these chats. Coming in hot. I love that phrase. And I'm packing. I don't like this guy, Tom. Who is that? Good riddance. Yes. This is how you treat trolls, Tom. At least how we do it on our podcast. That's how I always do it. You can ask Wild Bill. You know, he asked me a question, he got an answer. What about Columbo? Columbo was part of what they called the NBC Mystery Movie, and it was not on every week. It rotated with McMillan and Wife and McLeod. It also rotated for brief periods of time with shows that didn't last, like Heck Ramsey, and I think Columbo's wife had a show or something like that. But that repeating Henry is something I wanted ever since I was a kid. Oh, we all wanted that. From Gunsmoke, yeah. Well, the one from the rifle from the Rifleman's one I wanted. And I'll say it again, if they ever reboot the Rifleman and I'm not playing Lucas McCain, they might as well not do it. Julian Zezer said PBS tried to compete with a few series of their own. Seemed like Cosmos and Shogun were heavily hyped. Yeah, and The Thornbirds was another great miniseries because it had Rachel Ward in not much clothing. Sven Dunkel says, Ice Cream Truck. Yep, there you go. Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes is awesome. He is awesome. You scream ice cream, Sven. Let's see here. Hello, Looney Tunes critic. Brett says, does Tom just make up random things about strangers? No, I think we got plenty of empirical evidence with you, Chief. Calling it now. Looney's Took critic is in fact Dugout Doug. I don't think so. Looney Tunes critic rocks. It's the feds. Plus, you missed those shows as a kid. You felt like an outsider at school. You are dead on, Toby McGroby. I've got only about a minute left. I'm very sorry. I'm not going to be able to get all these chats. Sorry. Just got my replayables supplies, ha, ha, ha. Cool, Tom. He was an odd bird. That means I got rid of him. I meant Bill. Brett says, should I send in a PayPal donation after Tom just hung up on me? You really should for junking up my show. Yes. Tom rocks. Hit like, please like and share. Yeah, please do that. You know, get your wallet out a little bit. 45 seconds left. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to get through these chats. I'll put as many of them up during the outro song as I can. Let's see. Well, I get to see. I like that. I don't like that guy. Nobody likes that guy except him. He likes himself well enough for all of us. Hey, you guys are the best. I so appreciate all of you being here. I hope you're here tomorrow. I have no idea what the show's going to be about. If you got an idea, you message me on Facebook page for the Tom Gully Show. You got to get over there to Replayables. So with all that being said, till next time, we'll see you next time.
My stars above. You can call me Miss flies right out of my